Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport, and today was the Spanish Grand Prix. It finished a few hours ago and Jesus Christ, this was a boring race.
Nothing too shocking at the Spanish Grand Prix. Max Verstappen will take pole and win easily. The usual McLaren and Ferrari battle behind, and Mercedes the best of the rest.
Max Verstappen won, which of course he did, but it wasn't actually as simple as I thought. Lando Norris did a fantastic job to take for pole position, and he was a threat in this race. I think the strategy was brave. I don't think it really did anything for him in the long run, but it kept him up there. And Lando Norris really is the only thorn in Max Verstappen's side right now, although you could argue Charles Leclerc as well. If you're going to bring Norris into it, they're pretty close, so they're not out of title contention just yet. Norris is now 69 points behind Max Verstappen, but it only takes a couple of bad results for Verstappen or a run of very good results for Norris or Leclerc to change that. This is not an open and shut book. This is still very much for the taking, and I don't think it's too much to ask Norris and Leclerc to step it up a bit. Maybe McLaren and Ferrari will bring more upgrades that will just click and work and get them right up there with Red Bull. Having said that, I don't think this is entirely just the pace of Red Bull, because you look at where Sergio Perez is and he's terrible. It's not been a good run of qualifyings for Perez. I think the last four he's qualified like 11th, 16th twice, and in this Grand Prix he qualified 8th and had a 3-place grid penalty. And his results aren't amazing either. It's all the more baffling why Red Bull have signed him on for another year, other than he's no threat to Max Verstappen whatsoever. What he is a threat to is your constructors' title hopes, because I don't think you can just count on Max Verstappen scoring enough points to make sure you win the title. It would be handy to have a second driver who was also scoring decent points. And honestly, Perez is in the doldrums at the moment. He needs to really pick himself up and start scoring some decent points, because he's fighting with Oscar Piastri for 6th in the championship. It's not even like he's even in the same league as Max Verstappen. As for everyone else in this race, honestly, as I said, this was pretty dull. There were no retirements and it was all very clean, which was nice to see. No safety cars, no red flags, nothing like that, but there was not a lot of overtaking. Lando Norris did the majority of the overtaking, I think, because he dropped to 6th or 7th after his first pit stop and then climbed back up to 2nd, and they sort of went back and forwards with the pit stop strategies for a bit. Very, very good job from McLaren to just about get him out in front of Russell at the end. And even though they had an issue during their pit stop, it was still pretty much perfect. It was great driving from Norris to make the time as well. He was closing on Verstappen, but I don't think Verstappen was really in any danger. I think he had just saved enough tyres that if Norris did catch him, I think Verstappen would have been able to get away. But it was still a fantastic drive from Norris, a fantastic drive from Max Verstappen. It's honestly, they are really the class of the field right now. For Ferrari, this was less of a disaster than Canada was, but it still should worry them that Mercedes beat them quite handily, and seemingly with plenty of pace to spare. 5th and 6th for Ferrari here. It's not the end of the world. Maybe it's just the track didn't suit them. But I mean, they are in a fight with Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship, and they need to score more points than them to win it. Well, to finish 2nd behind Red Bull. It's got to worry them that Mercedes beat them here, and hopefully it'll be a kick up the arse for them to push on and maybe put something on the car that makes it go faster. I know that's a general idea, but that's not always a simple task. And Ferrari haven't really been the top team for a very long time. It would be nice to see them challenging for titles again. And Charles Leclerc is sort of in that position that if he had a slightly better car under him there, he could challenge for wins on a regular basis, then he would be up there in the title fight. So I think Ferrari, hopefully this will get them to take it up a notch. Get them right up with Red Bull and McLaren. Mercedes, 3rd and 4th in the race, first podium of the year for Lewis Hamilton. It's not going badly for them. They are sort of in the mix. They have sort of leapfrogged McLaren overall, I think, because Oscar Piastri can't really compete with the Mercedes, except when he's putting in an exceptionally good performance himself. But they are sort of stuck way behind Red Bull. They're behind Ferrari probably, and kind of on par with McLaren, ahead of Aston Martin and Alpine. And I don't think they'll be disappointed with this result. It was a very good result. Might be track specific, we don't know until we see them at other tracks as well. But it's been an up and down year for Mercedes. Something isn't like working consistently on that car to make it work every race weekend. Still good performance from both drivers. They both did perfectly fine. All this rubbish about Lewis Hamilton being sabotaged, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard this season. Because honestly, it doesn't benefit Mercedes to sabotage Lewis Hamilton. They are fighting for second in the constructors. There's a lot of money on the line. But even if they were, so what? He's under contract for the rest of this year, but then he's leaving. If he turned up and they gave him a second-hand Fiat Panda to race in, he'd have to fucking bite his lip and take it because he's leaving. They could do what they like to him. The fact that they're not doing that, and he has sort of been half decent, at least he's finishing races. I know he retired from the Australian Grand Prix. That's the only race both cars retired from. Every other race they finished in the points. So something's going right for Hamilton. He's had issues in qualifying. I don't think he's had the 1 lap pace at a lot of races. He has qualified in that kind of 7th, 8th or 9th position, which is always then tricky in the race because if you don't make the places up at the start, you're kind of stuck in the pack, you're losing time, you're kind of stuck there. And that's kind of been where he's been finishing. There's been a few good performances here and there where he's finished 4th at the last race in Canada, he's finished 3rd here. So Mercedes are on the right track. He's on par with George Russell at least. What more do you people want from him? This is about what Lewis Hamilton can do with this car right now. He's past his prime. He's not the same Lewis Hamilton who was breaking lap records on the last lap. He's older. He's had success. He's Rocky 4. I know Rocky wins in Rocky 4. But it's that kind of past it. He's got all the luxuries of life. It's Rocky 3, isn't it? With Clubber Lang, coach guy who dies. I forget. I haven't watched Rocky films in ages. But like Rocky 3 when it's like he's got the comfortable life. He's won. He's on top. Doesn't have that same fire anymore. And it takes his friend dying to get it back in him. I'm not suggesting we kill off one of Lewis Hamilton's friends. I don't think that's going to help him in the long run. But that's kind of where he is. He's doing pretty much exactly what you would expect from Lewis Hamilton. And honestly, Mercedes, they seem to be in an okay place. They've recovered time to their main competitors. They've pulled away from Aston Martin, who are in a bit of a rut. And it's really down between Mercedes and Ferrari and McLaren in the constructors to fight for second. If Red Bull suddenly stops scoring maximum points at every race from Max Verstappen, then the manufacturers' championship could be open as well for anyone to take if development went their way or Red Bull had issues for the rest of the year. Who knows?
I expect a little more from Fernando Alonso this weekend at his home race. I think he will finish ahead of both Mercedes drivers, but Lance Stroll will end up in the back of Esteban Ocon. Double points for Haas as well this weekend. Otherwise, it'll be a fairly normal Formula 1 race. RB out of the points, Alpine and Williams being terrible, Stake being anonymous.
Everyone else, the top 10 was split between 5 teams. So Alpine took the rest of the points other than the main 4 competitors. Piastri put in a good drive, Gasly was fine, Ocon was fine. Not particularly interesting. 5 teams in the bottom 10 as well. No retirements, but RB looked like they really struggled here, which was a shame because they brought a lot of upgrades and they have been quick at other races. Again, maybe it's track specific. Hopefully we'll see more from them in Austria. Stake, as anonymous as they always are. Haas, I don't know why I was confident they were going to get a double points finish. They were nowhere near. I think Hulkenberg was up in 11th at one point. I think they both got penalties for various things. Williams, pretty much nothing. Aston Martin must be disappointed with how their year's gone, and They really have slipped behind even Alpine at this point. Alpine, who have had a rotten start to the year, have really picked up, and now they're making Aston Martin suffer. But overall, this was a very tedious Grand Prix to watch. It was lucky I was sitting in a wooden chair, which you can't see. But if I was lying on the couch watching this, I would have fallen asleep. I'm pretty tired anyway, it would have finished me off. Luckily, I'm sitting in like a 50-year-old pub chair, and my back's killing me. It's keeping me awake. There's a lot of motorsport I'm yet to get through. I've literally only watched Euro Formula, which for some reason was top of my list. Formula Regional European, and the first Indian XT race. And Formula 1, and that's all I've watched so far. There is so much motorsport to watch. I'm catching up, and I'm watching the football as well. I've got screens all around me. I'm going to go mad. But I'm here watching it and covering it for you people at home. So let me know what you thought in the comments. Did you enjoy the Spanish Grand Prix? What do you think of the championship and how it stands? Make sure you subscribe to the channel. There's more content incoming next week and every week till the end of time afterwards. So with that, thank you very much for watching and have a good one.